The Hunger Games takes place in the future, where North America is no longer in existence, when the nation is divided into 12 districts, and every district has different characteristics that separates one from another. The government controls every aspect of the Hunger Games and the way people live. People are living in poverty and extreme segregation. But how is that relatable to Chicago? How does the government control every aspect of life? And how does it create way for the social issues of poverty and segregation? One of the main things that the Hunger Games tries to portray is how wealthy this capital is and how much control it has. Money, as we know, is power, and we clearly see that in the Hunger Games with the capital having so much power over all the other districts. All the districts have to fulfill quotas of goods and utilities that the capital gets to keep, which then in consequence leaves many of the districts in poverty. TIF is a program that the City of Chicago uses to fund public and private investments across the City of Chicago. A program under TIF must take place in areas that lack physical maintenance, inadequate utilities, overcrowding facilities, lack of ventilation, light, and sanitary facilities. Like in the Hunger Games, the districts have to fulfill these quotas. Well, in Chicago, people have to pay property taxes. The estimated property tax on certain projects that TIF funds for, that's what is funding TIF. And so as you can see in this picture, most of the money, more than $100 million, are going to the richest neighborhoods, while all the other neighborhoods, which are the neighborhoods in poverty, are not receiving the TIF money that they deserve. The capital uses peacekeepers to control the districts and to make the civilians abide to the laws of the capital. These peacekeepers many of times use violent and brutal force against the civilians. According to an article from Think Progress, the Chicago Police Department, also known as CPD, has received 10,149 complaints of police brutality. Only 19 of them have actually led to any consequence to the police officers that were involved.
In the Hunger Games, poverty is one of the most important issues for all the districts. District 12 is one of the most poorest and most overcrowded districts out of all of them. The only way, in this case, for them to gain social mobility is to play the game, as they say. According to the U.S. Census of 2011, Chicago has the third highest extreme poverty rate. What this means is that Chicago civilians lack food, water, and shelter.
Another social issue that takes place in Hunger Games is segregation.
Goosebumps. And don't you love how the stylists, they so clearly are able to reflect the character of each district?
Right. There's District 4.
Yes, the fishing.
I get it. I like it. That's very good.
And behind them, we have 2 power plant workers, right?
We are able to witness some kind of a caste system in the movie. The capital controls all 12 districts that are being unequally segregated. Being born in one district, a person could not change it, and he had to belong to his community all life. Also, in Hunger Games, we can see that richest districts have more chances to win the competition because they are provided with more equipment and trainings rather than poorest districts. For instance, Katniss 12 districts has never won the competition because it's the poorest one. Even if Chicago is seen quite diverse, actually it's very segregated financially and socially. In Chicago there are 50 districts and 3 of them hold the most wealth and money and resources. Segregation matters because living in a segregated neighborhood, people are not aware about social issues that are happening in other parts of the city, like crimes, violence, and poverty. So segregation makes people close-minded and the city weak.
Poverty isn't an issue that only affects a certain group of people, but instead affects everybody around. knowing why poverty exists in the first place lets you understand that people in poverty are not in poverty based on the fact that they are unintelligent or lazy or any other reason like that, but instead their social structure led to them not being able to move up because of where they live and the resources they lack.
We live in a country that values democracy, but what democracy really is, one of its core values is equality. What the government is supposed to do is maintain order and prevent social chaos. The government should have equality and maintaining order hand in hand, but they do not. It is important to understand what the government stands for and what our country stands for, because once we understand that, we are able to rebel and we are able to fight against the social issues that we deem are not acceptable.
Tiptoeing in my joint, trying to stay tiptoeing in this joint, tiptoeing.